that is rippling across the 26 dioceses in Cameroon as the tribulation for the release of the people of God kidnapped some 38 days or more uh, in the diocese of MAMFE. We also have in the studio Reverend Father uh, Alphonse Ekema, who is present. He's a journalist, of course, joining us to discuss on this issue. Father, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Yannick. It's a pleasure being here.
Right. And of course, to you, dear viewers, you're part of the program tonight, so you always feel free to join us anytime you feel comfortable. Send us your contributions, especially on the topic we will be discussing today. We're talking about the release of what is now known as the Chang 9, the 9 persons that were kidnapped in the diocese of Mamfe. And that is what we would be discussing tonight. And of course, to set the ball rolling, let us get the announcement of the release of these 9 persons. The Bishop of the Diocese of Mamfe, His Lordship Aloysius Fondong and Bangalo, gave the revelations to the general public shortly after receiving what is now known as the Chang 9. Reverend Father Michael Njomo has been reading through this communique and put together in the following readout. We'll definitely be coming back to the communique from the Bishop of the Diocese of Mamfe, but let us get a general feel of what is happening in the diocese now as the communications director is online to Mamfe, Reverend Father Christopher Ebuka. Thank you very much for joining us once again, Father.
Thank you very much, Yannick, and I must say that we are happy from our end.
Right, so paint a picture. How did the news reach the diocese and what is transpiring at the moment?
News got to the diocese by social media. People of God who have been praying saw it as an opportunity. Confirmation.
excitement is what is across the different parishes of Cameroon. Everyone seems so excited hearing this news, considering the pains and consternation that the kidnap caused not only the Diocese of MAMFE, but also the different Christians across the national territory. So, Father, how are they faring now? What is the situation of the Diocese of MAMFE?
That our father, the bishop, was very, very happy. It was an opportunity for again for us. We brought them in. He received them in front of him at his courtyard. During almost every moment of their fatherly touch, and also days of the
Right. Now, let us just have a feel of what happened in the diocese last night. We actually captured some moments there, and I think that if the footage can roll, then we would actually get a feel of what actually happened in the diocese of MAMFE last night when the what is now known as the NCHANG 9 arrived the cathedral, and of course the jubilation was huge as Father has painted it. Let us have these images.
Hello. God is good.
All the time.
And all the time. I'll talk for Pidgin, eh?
Yes, sir.
And that we did for my heart, and that we did for heart for all my that is for MAMFE, and for the whole country, and for the whole world. Wait to wait God on before we. Today is Sunday, but 23 days of October. We all done the cry. Done the cry, done the prayer. And I be right one people can talk say like one family. People prayer strong, strong. That's all Rosaria. Like Mama Maria. Say make it touch with brother them. When they take with other brother and sister them. It make Jesus it touch their heart. So that they feel if they meet they come back or can do the work with God, they don't ask them for do it. And the only thing that we also do not do and not ask man for anything. Which we don't go through, the pain we don't go through. Or for talking and say, which you don't happen for week today. Because of Mama their rosary. Any man will not believe for rosary. Today so buy rosary. We start praying rosaria. The thing we don't happen for we, Mama Maria don't do it. church. And so, Tuesday for 4 o'clock for cathedral. And he invite all man who come for cathedral, St. Joseph Cathedral, to thank God for this. Tuesday for 4 o'clock, all men go gather for cathedral. Yes, my Lord. Baby mass for thank God for God as a
Ah, so that is the Diocese of MAMFE for you, the euphoria, the joy, and every other adjective and adverb you can describe it. Of course, reverberated the Diocese of MAMFE. That was yesterday, and even today, moving forward, it's always going to be happiness in that diocese. Right, so Father, as we got from the bishop there, you're going to be having a Thanksgiving Mass. So how is it going to look like? Just give us a brief understanding of how the Mass is going to look like.
He actually should have a coloring of plain reparation for the desecration that took place in China. We also pray for in the diocese. That is the very one that kept us in the heart of the us. Now, we need to say thanks be to God. It's not true. They have been in a prayer. Whole world, other denominations did and seen this result. We need to come back to say thanks be to God. Like all the parishes around Murphy, all men and women of goodwill, all people, even believers in Africa who have the goodwill and the church at heart, could come in that Eucharistia, which is thanksgiving. God, our sentiments of prayer, and then after the bishop himself is going to pray.
Interesting. That's really interesting. And of course, it is an open invitation to all the Christians to, of course, join the Christian in thanking God for doing this. This should be a very, very big victory for the diocese, having been in grief and consternation for this very long time. Father, we're going to take a very short break with you. Just stand by while we have a discussion on this. On this same platform, on the 20th of September, we talked about the demise that plagued the Diocese of Mamfe. And of course, we condemned it in strongest terms and also we made some appeal to the abductors to do well, to release those men of God and as well the people of God that kidnapped. We're here once again
that devotion to Our Lady. And of course, was the same intention everywhere for the release of our Christians. And there's Louis de Montfort says that when we say the rosary together with the same intention, and that's the power you have with the novena, we're saying the same intention at the same time. It is like everybody is sending their guns and they're shooting at the devil at the same time. There is no way that you cannot overpower the devil. And that's why immediately when they arrived, the Bishop of MAMFE showed the rosary. It has done it again. You know, miracles, real miracles don't shake mountains and don't break places. That is exactly what has happened. I am very convinced. For anybody who has not believed in the prayer of the rosary, I think it's a miracle before us. Because 5 priests kidnapped. You know what happens? I've seen where priests are kidnapped in Nigeria and they kill them all. But then, it's also something. Anybody who's doubting that we are not at war, remember when Senator Regina Mondi was released, she said, we are at war. In fact, kidnapping has cut across all class of society. Cardinal was kidnapped, the Archbishop kidnapped, even our bishop here was kidnapped. Priests kidnapped, Christian sisters, everybody. So we should be speaking like people are in war. For those who are still doubting that we are not at war, it is clear. If when there is war, people rush to the mission to take cover, to hide. Rush to the hospital, rush to schools. If people now go to the church and carry priests and kept them in captivity for 38 days, then anybody who is still doubting that we are not at war, I don't know what the person wants to see before we believe that we are at war. And we should start speaking the language that shows that we are conscious of the fact that we are at war. And for me, I want to think that the government should prove that it is powerful. Power does not mean that we should not speak the language that is soft. Anyone who forgives is the one who is powerful.
Stronger.
So, for the sake of the people, the innocent people, I think when someone, because when you look at these our brothers, I think that they are no longer reasoning. So it is time for us to speak the language that will see how we can end this thing, whatever we need to do to end this thing. Because the first responsibility of every government is to protect life and property. Of course, we should not be, proving that we are strong. If for 38 days there was no clue, and the people we have prayed, and God has softened the hearts of the kidnappers, and they have released our brothers, then we should know that when you hear the common language that security is assured, it is you now that can assess and say whether your security is assured. It is God. It's no longer security in the hands of the people. And when we have reached that kind of stage, we should change our language and begin to speak the language that is showing that we are concerned about the common man, the common people who are suffering, children, women, innocent priests, religious, people who are there to serve the people of God. I think we are at war. And I'm sure that if you talk to all these our priests and sister and the Christ-lay faithful who have just been released, they will tell you that we are at war.
Absolutely.
I hear they are coming they were brought in from Nigeria.
Nigeria.
How did they reach Nigeria with the robust security I heard that we now have here, and they could not locate them?
Even thinking about the trekking, I mean, between Cameroon and Nigeria should be
It
some miles,
tells you
several miles.
that no one is safe. These guys are capable of anything. 38 days and nothing has been done except the prayers of the people of God. The whole world was praying. It has also proven the strength of our faith. When we say the same thing, I remember when this crisis started and the Secretary General of the Commonwealth visited Boya and told us that she betrayed from her discussion that she's a Catholic. Say, let us say novena. A novena is a prayer where people are saying the same thing with the same intention at the same time. And it's the same thing that we have been doing. Saying the rosary at the same time. Right, the whole world, right to the Holy Father, everybody.
Absolutely. Everyone was concerned.
So it has proven many things. But then let us accept, those who have not accepted it, that we are at war. Because sometimes when people come around and turn around Boya, inside the Boya municipality, they have not moved to Monya, they will think, why are you people exaggerating?
Sometimes with heavy military presence.
Of course, if you want to have a military that can protect the people you have, each Cameroonian pay military. Each military pay person. Is it possible? It's not possible. It's not possible. It is not. And you could see, I was reading on the newspapers the other day that they have dismissed so many workers that have not been going to work, and so many of them come from the northwest and southwest region. There are places where people can't go to school to teach, and they're dismissing them because they are not going to work.
Right. It's unfortunate. That's the situation we find ourselves.
What happened to the delegates who were kidnapped? One died. We have heard nothing about the others.
Right.
It
So
can
it
possibly
can only
happen to our priests,
It can only be
to
God.
our Christian. It's
Can
only
only be
God.
God.
They say, you not be God if a bad person. So we are happy and we are glad that our brothers and sisters have come back.
Right. Now, let me come to you, Father. God has painted a very bittersweet picture. If I use that oxymoron, it's a very bittersweet picture of the situation at the moment. But then, to you as a priest and a very concerned Christian at that, when you got the information of their release, I'm talking about the now very famous NCHANG, what came to your mind?
Thank you very much, Yannick. Ever since I got this information about the release of brothers and sisters in the house of MAMFE, I've just been reflecting on the words of John Ellerton, which the Bishop of MAMFE used in his communique. It's one of the hymns which the clerics say for night prayers. It says there's this line there which says the voice of prayer is never silent, and that has proven itself in this particular situation. So since this happened, a lot of people have committed themselves to praying for the situation of those who are who were abducted, so to say. They have been praying, and it gets at some point. At some point, it's like people start to question, what is the fruit of our prayers if nothing is happening? Especially when they are not seeing the signs, they are not seeing visibly evident outcomes of their prayers. They are worried, and people's hopes are disturbed. I think it is a very wonderful situation that they find the release of these people whom everyone has been praying for has come to pass. At least the hopes of people are reassured in a way. And one aspect which I find quite interesting is the aspect of the Bishop of MAMFE committing everyone to return to thanksgiving. In his communique, after thanking everyone for the prayers which they have been saying, he says they should still say a ticket of the rosary in thanksgiving to God for the release of these people. You show that the prayers keep going on. It's not just it's not enough that they have come. So if you go down on your knees to pray when things are rough, when the outcome comes, you equally go in prayer to God to thank Him for what you prayed for. So he asks for that, and he did not end at that particular point asking for that ticket of rosary to be said. He asks that a thanksgiving mass be offered, it be given, as in the case it will be tomorrow in that case, Yannick, and he invites everyone to come. So it is not just a Thanksgiving mass to also come and see those who are there, to thank God for the fact that they are alive. And like Brother Sinfred was already mentioning there, it is an occasion of Thanksgiving because you see the situation of the delegates who were abducted in Indian division sometime last year. Till now, no information has been heard about any of them.
Absolutely.
So what happens? People have been praying.
The fun of
people have-
Bambalan
yes,
is still
have been
missing.
thinking. It becomes a difficulty. So I think it is also that it also gives that assurance when people pray and then something happens, as the situation which has happened now. So it is very important for us to pray. And like the bishop mentioned yesterday, when the video was taken and shared out, it is not time to ask questions. It is not time to ask questions. Now it's time to really thank God for these our brothers who were let me say lost in the sense that they were not around, they had been abducted, and now they are found. So it is an institution to really give thanks to God, as St. Paul says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 18, in all circumstances give thanks
to God.
So I think it is that situation we should find ourselves in, Yani, a situation now of giving thanks. For these are brothers who were not there at some point in time. We have been praying for them for close to 38 days, 37, 38 days, and eventually they are here with us. It's an opportunity to thank God, not just in the house of MAMFE, but all over, because it's something which affected a lot of people. They were concerned about these people who were kidnapped. I think it's that situation we should find ourselves now, Yannick.
Right. It's a happy moment, but it's also a very painful moment. Painful in the sense that the persons who stayed in captivity for this long, more than a month, should also be undergoing an after effect. And the best person to tell us how it feels like after being in captivity is you, Father, because you've been in captivity, still in MAMFE there, and you stayed for some time. Tell us, when you regain your freedom and eventually trying to bond to this society, how does it feel like having stayed in confinement for some time? I should say incommunicado, because basically you're not communicating with the world. So after having stayed in such confinement for such a time and you come out, how do you interact? Do you get scared with every other situation? Do you become so suspicious? What's the situation like?
Well, you put across. We're talking about here, that now it is right. The fact that
Your mood swings.
you are more playing as a better one. You are more, and then more still, you are more the set of people whose only language is how to kill this time. The picture of what they have done. One day, coming out of it, you are
That's interesting. That's interesting, and it's also very frightening. Frightening getting all of that, the psychological trauma and all of that. And, before I come to you again, Father, let me ask, brother. I am sure I will state for all of this. You need to undergo some post-traumatic stress disorder kind of reconfinement. What do you think about that?
You just imagine their state.
Mm-hmm.
Can you ever imagine when you sit somewhere, you don't know where you are, and then you don't know what can happen to you next, and you are just seeing guns around, like Father is saying.
were they the worst of people who were being abducted in that situation? They were not the worst of people. The situation just took them in that particular. It just found them, and of course they were the victims, so to say. So each and every one of us as Christians, when we see these situations happening like that, it's also an invitation for us to get more on our prayers and also to check our lives as persons. Because when these come up, then we begin to reflect on deeper questions like Brother Sinfred is talking about there. Some very deep questions. You begin to ask yourself, what next? My life can end at this point in time. How do I prepare for the afterlife? Because I was just wondering, Yannick, I was like, how would these people in this situation, sitting in the same place, probably sometimes I spoke with some seminarians who had been in MAMFE who were abducted at some point in the course of the year, so they had this situation, and some of them were telling you the difficulty of mindset you are with the same stress day in, day out. It just has that perspective of making your mind to feel like life is just standing still. You wonder what next, what was the next step. You don't really know what you are supposed to do. And like Brazil was saying, you start asking a question, yes, you start asking yourself a question, what can happen next? Maybe I can be the next, maybe I can die, and so on and so forth. Couple all the threats which come in that situation which they find themselves, it becomes so difficult. And it's not just an opportunity for us to think about them and be sorry for them. We too have to pray that not just that we should not be in that situation, but that we actually prepare ourselves too, because all of us are in this crisis. Today it may be this other person, tomorrow it may be you in that situation. How we prepare ourselves to really matters. So as we pray, like we're talking about the prayers now, it's also an opportunity for us to prepare ourselves, look at ourselves, and be able to evaluate ourselves, because this thing can happen to anybody, so to say, Yanni.
Right, now, let us flip a bit of the side of the coin. Catholic Christians across the world this Sunday celebrated the World Mission Sunday. We're all supposed to be missionaries for Christ. In the midst of difficult situation, how do you play it into your advantage, Father? How do you play it into your advantage? I mean, you were in a place where you could literally turn people and make some opportunity out of the challenges.
Okay, Yannick, what you've asked is a very sensitive question. You see, on Mission Sunday, the Holy Father has this letter which he sends to the parishes, let everyone be able to reflect on the particular reality which or the vision which he has for the church. And this time around, he wishes that they should actually be missionary as such. And he had this theme for the year, for this year, which is you should be my witnesses, so to say, from Acts chapter 1, verse 8. And now, there's this key aspect there which, reflecting on this letter of the Holy Father, you see it coming out very clearly. You see the people of Jerusalem, the apostles, let me say the apostles or the disciples, when they were in Jerusalem, there was this Christ, the persecution which came upon the church. And what happened to these people? They had to move out of Jerusalem to a different area, maybe for safety and also to be able to survive. But when they moved out of Jerusalem, they used that, they abandoned their faith. When they went out there, they preached the gospel, they carried their faith, so to say. They preached the gospel, and the people whom they encountered outside were able to benefit from their situation. They were able to benefit from their situation. When they went there, they were able to benefit from their situation by the preaching which they went there. So we too on Missionary Sunday were like exhorted that amidst this crisis, as people are moving from one place to another, they should not abandon the gospel. We should not abandon the gospel. We too carry the gospel like the apostles and the disciples of Christ, who in the situation of difficulty were able to use that as a medium to evangelize. Because it is not the missionary call on Mission Sunday is not just an exhortation to make everybody Catholics. It's an opportunity for us to make everyone come to know Christ, who is there in our lives, to be able to help us, be able to come to him, and to be able to appreciate the value of God's gift of life to us as people on this earth, so to say.
Right. Of course, this is Mountain Echoes you're watching. We will take a very short break. We'll be back right after the break.
Joy envelops the Christians of the MAMFE diocese and across the ecclesiastical province of Bamenda as 9 persons kidnapped last month have gained their freedom. A Thanksgiving Mass is built this Tuesday, 25th of October at the St. Joseph's Cathedral, MAMFE, in their honor. Christians of the Immaculate Conception Parish Great Supper have had their own turn of the weekly catechesis with the Bishop of the Diocese of Boya. Hello there, good evening, and thanks for joining us on Divine Mercy Prime. I am Myron Gain for presentation. Those were our top stories. Stay tuned for the news in full. A Thanksgiving Mass for the release of the 9 persons kidnapped since the 16th of September in NCHANG Parish has been built for tomorrow, Tuesday, 25th of October. This information was made known by the Bishop of the Diocese of MAMFE when he welcomed them. Reverend Father Alphonse Ikema now tells us more.
38 days in captivity, joy again resounds in the diocese of MAMFE, whereupon the arrival of those taking many wait in the streets to officially welcome their unseen brethren. At the bishop's residence, he crowns their arrival with a word of gratitude for their eventual release, also thanking the people of God for their constancy in prayer.
We all don't dey cry. Don't dey cry, don't dey prayer. And I be right one people can talk say like one family. Make we prayer strong. That's all Rosaria. Beg Mama Maria. Say make it touch the brother them. Where they take with other brother and sister them. It make Jesus it touch their heart. So that they feel if they meet the come back or can do the work with God, they don't ask them for do. And the only thing that we also do I not ask man for anything. Which we don't go through, the pain we don't go through. Or for talk now say, which you don't happen for week today. And because of Mama Maria Rosary.
25th at St. Joseph's Cathedral, where the faithful of the diocese of MAMFE shall thank God with their long-seen brother in praying for the release of these 5 priests, lone and teenage girl, for it is never the intention of the church to get entangled. Of the diocese of MAMFE has issued an official communique thanking the people of God for their prayers.
Christians of the Immaculate Conception Parish Great Supper have had their own share of the weekly teachings of the Bishop. His Lordship Michael Bibi, in his televised teaching today, schooled the Christians on the profession of the Christian faith, creator of heaven and earth. Joyce Mbong now completes that story.
Christians of the Immaculate Conception Parish Great Supper have expressed words of gratitude to His Lordship Michael Bibi for strengthening their faith in the understanding of the teachings of the Church by breaking down the catechism of the Catholic Church in the simplest understandable format. This was during his series of catechesis this day at the Immaculate Conception Parish.
I personally have been very happy. I will be very happy for the doctrine. We don't meet up with for years. For those who they don't come, they don't miss a lot. Would the state talk say make Bishop also come?
This day's catechesis was a continuation of a teaching on the profession of a Christian faith with focus on the creator of heaven and earth. The Christians were drilled on God's purpose for creation, the role Rich with such teaching, the Christians of the Immaculate Conception Parish Great Support, just like Oliver Twist, crave for more of such teaching.
He tell me to say health. Creation of God, it be beautiful, very long. For choose suicide for go, whether for or for go for purgatory or now our freedom. Say we get an way we get for the listen to Korea so that may will not go astray. So that gadget. Very well. I thank una for coming. We need una again more.
I am so delighted, and I think that if it is something that's a routine thing that is taking 6 months, it should be better. It's because the Catholics really, they have really forgotten their doctrine.
The rendezvous is taken for next Monday for another edition of Discovering the Catechism with His Lordship Michael Bibi.
Christians of St. Peter the Apostle Parish Mudeka have raised more than 14 million CFA francs to erect a state-of-the-art sanctuary. The amount was raised this Sunday, October 23rd at the parish premises. Yannick Fonke now tells us more in the following report.
Our community sanctuary with a sum of 1,200,000 francs.
Sus Parish Mudeka dug deep in their pocket. Fitting sanctuary for gold.
On the last fundraising, the bishop himself was present and he gave us his own donation. This year, Big Church, of God, so that when we come there or other visitors come, we see a
Spirit, one of the things that keeps me going, it's being happy. Whenever it comes to matters of the church, matters of CWA, I am excited.
From the nooks and crannies of Mudeka,
I think today we have raised almost to the neighborhood of 14 million something again. The cash that came in plus the pledges, and I know some other people will still continue to contribute towards the completion of this project.
if the fundraising event was time, then it is fans driving the initiative to succeed.
Virtually call, go to them, call again to remind. You have to, if possible, negotiate on the money that they will give you. That's how you get a success. If you want a successful fundraising, yes.
St. Peter's the Apostle Parish Church saw its erection from foundation level only 2 years ago. It has on
Continue to thank all the Christians of this parish, those who came from out the parish, for their generosity and their goodwill towards the growth of the parish. And we only pray and hope that God will reward each and every one of them for their kind donation.
You saw the way they donated freely or charitably, and they were happy doing it. It is because we too, once they see they are happy, they are like happy that this Father tree is for them, and we are actually helping them in their spiritual needs. So in that way, when we call them, they are willing to come.
the wish of many is that more progress be made towards attaining the goal of building a befitting structure.
Members of the ex-students of the Association of St. Francis Boya chapter have been urged to emulate the life of their patron, St. Francis of Assisi. This call was made on Saturday, October 22nd at the Our Lady of Grace Shrine in Sase during the celebration of their feast day. Sharon Tita now completes the story.
Grace Shrine. Over the weekend, members of St. Francis a recollection to commemorate the feast of their patron celebrated earlier on October 4, 2022.
God, have some time to reflect and worship God.
Drilling on the recollection as participants with one mind and heart pondered on his spirituality.
One of the theme or one of the talk that we've had today by our own peasant priest in the person. Or he lived a simple life, and I think that we as peasants, these are all values that when
Encountering once more the story of Saint Francis, embrace humility and peace, accepting
and our patron saint is a faithful Christian.
prayerful environment, be they Catholics or not, in as much as they have the intention of spiritual nourishment.
Shura is open to all the people, Catholic or not Catholic, those who are the desire. But it's open. And the priests, I'm all of them, to lead them, advise them, to show them the way.
Accomplish much from these prayers. The members of St. Francis ex-student expected to emulate the life of their patron saints always.
The Christians of St. John Paul II Parish, Econa, have been beckoned to emulate the life of humility and care for the needy. This call was made by Reverend Father Johnson Akwi during the Holy Mass, which started the celebration of their parish feast day over the weekend. The day was commemorated by animations like traditional dance, ballet, and Bible presentations. More in the following story.
The Stars took on a more festive look at St. John, where Christians with their priest celebrate the parish feast day in an atmosphere of jubilation, beginning with the sacrifice of the Holy Mass.
The readings for today, especially the first reading, brings out the plight of the poor and the oppressed. And Pope St. John Paul II happens to have been one of those popes who stood very much on the plight of the needy, of the poor in society, of the oppressed. So I saw this the best day that we are celebrating his life to bring in something that relates to what his whole pontificate can be summarized into.
Christians are upon to live in humility, pray relentlessly, and help those in need by following the footsteps of their patron, St. John Paul II.
We need to start practicing the principle of solidarity as St. John Paul II by considering every other person around us as a member and parts of one or belong.
Lessons learned are highlighted by some who plan to put them to use in their efforts to draw more people closer to God.
Really, hoping us to understand that God hears the cry of the poor. God listens to the poor. It should not be, it's not really spiritually. He helps build the poor cries to him. To help the needy and then spiritual life, like teaching them the doctrine. Not only end at the level of having food on their table, food also. So we hope and we need to go closer to the needy, help them and spiritually.
Primary school who showcase their skills in biblical been many marveled by their performance and that of other positive and look to the intercession of their patron saints for the betterment of things.
Lectors of St. Charles Luanga Parish Moliko, having called upon to emulate the footsteps of St. Jerome, their patron, ignorance of the scripture is
for services, we go for worship, we just go there to, I don't know, we just go there and then we attend it, and after that there is no impact in us. So we need to know we can really go and then we can reflect, contemplate and see, examine ourselves, and then we start making that journey of transformation and we take the stages that I
Christ at the high said, God always answers your prayers. And that got to me a lot because sometimes you pray and you're like, answer my prayers, but after when you sit and see the other things that have happened to you, you see that no, my prayers was really answered. So I really enjoyed this connection so much.
Members who missed out reached to catch up when next such a spirit organized.
The next recollection, please make it come so that you'll be able to impact not only yourself, but when you get back home, you can help the family, you can help talk to others so that you change their lives. There are certain things in life we need to cut off from in order to know God and be closer to Him. We don't need to always follow the crowd and do what everybody is doing.